Yeah. No, we're good.
Committee substitute. All those in favor?
Yep. All right. If I can have everybody's attention, I'm gonna call Senate Ethics meeting to order. I don't have a gavel here to bang on the table, but I know it's late and everybody wants to go home. So thank y'all for being here. I'm gonna ask my vice chair if he would say a quick prayer before we get started, if he's all right with that.
I will.
All right. Thank you.
Dear God, thank you again for another opportunity to be here. Thank you for another beautiful day, dear God. Please bless the men and women in harm's way and our armed services and our law enforcement. And dear God, give us the patience and the wisdom to make the right decisions on things we need to do. In thy name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, I want to first just thank the author of this bill and the chairman that have worked very hard overnight to get us where we are this evening, and I think they've made a lot of changes. They listened to a lot of the concerns that we heard last night for 2 hours, and they took those concerns back, and they've got a good bill that I think we can move forward with. So with no further ado, I want to ask y'all to come on down and let's walk through these changes that y'all made. And again, let's read off the LC number so we make sure everybody's got the right LC number.
All right, Mr.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So HB 397, the LC we were working off of is 473701S. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. We appreciate the time last night and the questions and all the everything we heard from everybody who testified. After the meeting, Chairman Anderson and I got together. After hearing a lot of the concerns, we realized there's some things in the bill that probably needed some more work, some more time to be focused on, which we are going to work on during all session on our side in the House Government Affairs Committee over the next few months once we get out of session to really vet some of these issues and to work through them and to bring some other people to the table to talk through it. So I thought it'd be easier just to go through what we have removed from the bill and then quickly touch on what we added to the bill. So from the bill from last night, we removed the old section number 4, which dealt with the DMV language, which required the DMV employees to ask about citizenship. We removed section 6, which was the appellate authority for the SEB regarding the voter roll challenges. We also removed old section number 13, which was the hand count reconciliation rule, which dealt with counting the ballots at the precincts the night of the elections once it's closed. So those were the 3 sections we removed. One of the things we changed regarding section 2 and 6 and 7, which is regarding the ERIC language, there was some discussion around when the state would be required to remove out of ERIC. What we have done, we put language in there that has asked the SEB to come up with some potential recommendations. It's also something we're going to work on in the House Government Affairs Committee during all session, looking at options that the state could have. And we put an implementation date of July 1st, 2027. So it gets us through the 2026 statewide election next year. It gives us next session to address it. Then also gives you another session in 2027. Also, what it does is this in January 1st, the second Monday of January in 2027, there's going to be quite a change in constitutional officers in the state and possibly a new Secretary of State. It gives, if there is a new Secretary of State, time to work with this legislative body to implement what we have asked them to do. So that is the changes to the bill. Be happy to answer any questions.
Were there a few? You said there were a few additions, small additions.
Yeah,
I think.
And I'm sorry. And under section 12, if you remember, the elections director from, I believe it was Polk County, was here last night, and what this language does, it talks about uploading the information that night to the website. What this does, we put in a sentence form that says if the election superintendent cannot upload to such website outside of business hours. So that gives them, they can post it on their window or somewhere in a public place where people can see those documents. So addressing some of the concerns maybe from smaller rural counties that don't have a full IT team or a team that can access the website at that time of night. And we also, what section was that, Victor? I'm sorry. The last one.
What page?
Sorry, we are. Yes, sir,
Page 15.
Yeah, we added, you'll see underlined by precinct. This is during the early voting process, each daily, the early voting report for each county, how the voter information is uploaded to the Secretary of State site for the public to view, how many people have voted and who voted. It just breaks down that data by the precinct level now.
Okay. All righty.
And that was all the additions.
That's all the additions. Okay. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. We got a question or two here. Number 14. Chairman Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the authors for your good work, and we appreciate you listening to the folks last night and working hard overnight to kind of get us back to where we are. So I really appreciate that. Walk me through the process. How many early voting sites are authorized in this bill, or is it the discretion of the election officials?
So yeah, I know there was an issue yesterday with one of the version on the early voting
Early
sites.
voting sites.
We did fix that, so that is the discretion of the county as far as how many early voting locations they have. We do not address early voting locations, what they can do with early voting locations. In this
Right, but they cannot.
You're talking about the pop-up. You're talking about the pop-up.
I'm talking about the
Yes,
pop-up.
yes, that's still in there. I'm sorry. Yes, the pop-up.
would you point that out to me, please?
Yes, let me find that. Sorry, all the sections changed.
Right. So I believe our concern is on the pop-up locations. Is that not true?
Sorry.
Page 10, thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. So yes, if you'll go to, we had start addressing that online. Yeah, it starts at page 12. We start at 292, and it goes through page 13 through 318.
Got it.
And what this language does was requiring that the Saturday and Sunday prior to the election day, that the counties cannot be open to accept absentee ballots.
That's correct. And that was in the original bill, was it not?
That was in the bill from last night.
Last night, correct.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman. Appreciate
All
it.
right. The Vice Chair, number 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those drop boxes, some of our rural counties may not be able to get video surveillance. And this is something that possibly we can look at, putting those drop boxes on wheels and let them roll them into the closet where they store their ballots, their absentee ballots and their supplies. At the close of business day, seal it with the seal, roll it in there, and lock it up with the ballots. Just a thought.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that gives them to handle just like they do absentee ballots. They're
Right.
they're locked in a secure box in a secure room within their office.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions or discussion from the committee? Number 5. Number 5? Who's number 5?
Yep. I was taking a look, Mr. Chairman. Can you point me where I think I might have found it. And sorry, I walked in late, but the section on not allowing counties to accept absentee ballots the weekend
That was 10.
before the
I think it's
election.
page 13, Senator. Hold on. Yeah, line 302 through 318 on page 13.
Mm-hmm. And I know my colleague yesterday asked several different questions about that and the rationale. When's the last day that a voter can request an absentee ballot?
It's,
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
it's changed because is it the Monday before, the,
Second Friday before election day.
it's gonna be,
11 days.
it's gonna be a week before the election because you've gotta have time to mail it to them. And so, used to, they could request it right up to the Friday before the election almost, but we changed that because there's no way they can process it and mail it to them. So it's actually the Friday, I think, if I remember correctly, that Friday before,
11 days.
11 days before, right.
Okay. So obviously a voter can receive a absentee ballot if they wait till the last day for whatever reason, and there are many, this would limit their ability to hand deliver that.
Just on that weekend prior to the election,
So
which
if
a lot of counties aren't accepting them anyways. At that point.
But even if the counties are not, there are some that do. Why treat the voter that mails a ballot and the county receives it on that Saturday and processes it through mail different than the person that wants to hand deliver it to make sure that it gets there on time and securely?
Well, it's kind of like the discussion we had yesterday, consistency in the process, but also that is a very, very busy time for these elections offices. There's a lot they need to be focusing on. There's a lot they need to be getting prepared for that Tuesday election.
If I could interject something, usually like in Baldwin County, our election office would close on Friday evening at the close of early voting. And then they go home. Then they come back on Saturday. They're not open. What they're doing, they're going through and giving people credit for voting so that that's entered into the system so that they cannot go and vote again. So they're issuing credit for voting in the system, and then they upload that to the Secretary of State's office. And then they'll come back on Sunday usually and start downloading the information into the poll pads to get those ready for Tuesday. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and they can request that absentee ballot, and they have plenty of times to even return it. Even on a Saturday voting, they can come and turn that absentee ballot in themselves prior to the Saturday or Sunday before election day. So they have plenty of opportunities to do that.
All right, we get that cleared up.
Yeah, I have one more question. One thing that I don't see in the bill, and I should have asked it yesterday, I'm concerned about what's already in the law related to the removal of QR codes and the Secretary of State's ability to meet that with a deadline that's coming up next year. This is apparently an omnibus bill to address election issues that folks see. That's a big issue. There's conversations about moving to hand marked paper ballots. Why not address that now? Because we're at a point where we're going to somehow spend $70+ billion, or $1 million, not billion, million. And if that's not appropriated or not handled at the state level, then counties are going to have to figure it out because they have to follow the law. What's the plan here? and I realize that may not be your wheelhouse,
Right,
but
right.
we all need to be thinking about this because we're, a few days away from sine die. Are we going to come next year in the middle of session and try to figure it out for the Secretary of State and our election system? I'm just concerned about how this is going to work in the long run.
I do, and I appreciate the question, and yes, it is a concerning subject, and it's something that we've had some discussion with on our part. We've had some discussion with the Secretary and his office, and part of what Representative Fleming had mentioned earlier about our plans to evaluate not only the voter roll maintenance, but the processes that we use for elections out of session over this next year. That is one of the top subject matters that's on my list that we'll be considering. So at this point, we don't have a solution. It's either an appropriation solution or a legislative solution. That's one of the two options. And at this point, it's not included in this bill.
So are we passing a study committee or something, or is this going to be more informal?
We're evaluating those options right now with House leadership on the House side. So of course, the Senate's, you gentlemen and ladies are welcome to do your thing there, but we're looking at options to try to address some of these matters.
All right, let's see. Mr. Leader, you can shed some light on some
I
of
was
this?
just going to ask if Senator Estevez could repeat his question. I like what I heard, to make effective date for 2026. Is that what you were recommending? I just wanted the people back home to hear that. So, I mean, this is bipartisanship support here. Progress is being made. Historic.
Number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to draw everyone's attention to Section 3, page 3, especially line 45 says, said chapter is further amended in Code Section 21-2-31 relating to the duties of the State Election Board by adding new paragraph as follows: to maintain custody of all state election investigative reports and communications between the Secretary of State and election superintendents. As you know, the Secretary of State is a constitutional officer. I don't think we're amending the state constitution. I haven't seen a bill that has a minority owner. So how will we empower the State Election Board to keep records of a constitutional officer? And I'd ask Legislative Council to weigh in. Wouldn't that be an infringement on that constitutional officer?
The Constitution empowers the General Assembly to set the duties of the Secretary of State via statute. The Constitution also authorizes the General Assembly by law to provide for the procedures of elections. So no, I do not believe it would be unconstitutional to make such revisions in statute.
Thank you, Stuart. That set up my next question in Section 4. How will we give rulemaking to the State Election Board if by Constitution that power is supposed to reside with the General Assembly, not the State Election Board? We set the rules by law, not by rulemaking, to prescribe the manner for elections. So how does an unelected board have the power to make rules that the Constitution gives us the power to set?
Thank you for the question, and the answer to that lies in the way that we treat most boards and oversight commissions and that sort of thing that are created by this assembly. As part of that creation, we give them within usually a defined scope, the authority to create those rules. We do that on a regular basis with the departments. The Department of Revenue will take a law that we pass. They'll promulgate the rules to actually implement that law.
Good, Senator. All right. Any further questions or discussion? Oh, one more, number 5.
I just remembered the question I was going to ask that I blanked on. So this past year, some of those sites were open over the weekend to accept absentee ballots because there were delays in getting absentee ballots out. Example of that is Cobb County. This prohibition is a blanket one that doesn't appear to provide counties any outlet if there are delays in getting absentee ballots like we saw in Cobb. And I think in Cobb there were several thousand ballots that had to be overnighted to residents. Why not provide counties that flexibility, if it's something that y'all have said is not widely used, one. Two, and I know you're going to say consistency, but two, what is the option for those counties when something like that does happen? Is it that their only avenue is to tell voters, sorry, we screwed up, but you have to deliver this on election day, otherwise it won't count, versus allowing them to be able to open for or offer those voters additional options since it was the county's mistake in not getting those ballots out?
I was just going to say, the scenario you're talking about is not an uncommon scenario in the state of Georgia now. If we have issues that delay for some reason or suspend voting during a day, then it's a common practice to secure a judicial order to maintain the voting locations to be open for an extended period of time. I would expect that to be equally applicable to this if it were a situation that warranted it.
All right, number 14.
At the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, hold on just a minute. My vice chair just lit up.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk about. When they've had issues at some of the precincts, like power going out or another issue, and they've had to delay opening the precinct from 7 o'clock to maybe 9 o'clock or even 10 o'clock, then they go to a judge, and the judge will issue a ruling that they can actually extend those hours at that precinct to give those people time to get there to vote. So that's common practice now in the elections.
All righty. All right, now would be the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman.
Motion do pass.
Got a motion to pass. Do I hear a second? Second. I've got multiple seconds here. Any further discussion? All right. Move. All right, say that in the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the table.
All right, there's a motion on the table to table the bill. Got a second on that. Any discussion on tabling? All those in favor for tabling? Do it.
I was just going to discuss really quickly that this would be an opportunity to work on making sure that we address the ballot issue that the leader had mentioned.
Any further discussion? All right. So we've had a motion and a second to table. There's had discussion. All those in favor to table the bill, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. All right. Motion to table has failed. Now we'll go back to the motion of the chairman and the second. All those in favor of the bill, please raise your right hand. All those opposed to the bill, please raise your hand. All right, Representative.
Thank y'all very
Motion,
much.
bill passes. You've got a bill.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
y'all. Thank you.
We are adjourned. Thank you, committee, for sticking around so late. Appreciate it.